Hello, people. It's time. This is Tempest Tenebrarum, home of all things World of Darkness. We're here every other Tuesday, mostly, sitting around bullshitting about our favorite line. We love all of the World of Darkness. I'm learning that even now. I'm finding out that there are certain aspects of even Changeling that I appreciate. So, joining us tonight is Mike. Say hi, Mike.
Alright.
Okay, Mike, you're breaking up again, dude. and and of course, our new co-host, Kide.
Hey everybody.
So, tonight we're going to be bullshitting about Jyhad. And I know everybody out there has some feelings about, that particular word. Okay, we this they used it for the game before 9/11, so I don't want to hear it. Okay, I just don't. Vampire: The Eternal Struggle's nice, but that seemed to be even then. Mike will tell you, even then I had issues when they changed the name of the game. I was like, why? That's what it's called. That's what the Methuselahs called it, the Jyhad. So, for folks that aren't familiar, it's a card game. It's a collectible card game, very similar to Magic the Gathering or Legend of the Five Rings, or pretty much any of the other card games, collectible games that you can.
The very first vampire card game.
And then they tried doing a werewolf version that didn't work out as well. I think that was called Rage, and it didn't. It just didn't work out. Um, and now they're bringing uh, Jyhad back with new cards and all kinds of cool stuff. So I'm just tickled to death. They're gonna start us out like they've done with Magic, with the new
Right.
set of giving us a deck that you can play right out of the box. You don't have to actually collect. Now you will be able to collect better shit further down. They'll have packs and so on. So, anywho, Kide,
Yo.
Mike, have you got your sound straightened out, man? Hello, Mike.
I'm just getting feed.
Okay, he's still got some serious sound issues. So, Kide, what are your memories of Jyhad?
Well, from what I read, the first thing that I learned about the jihad is that what my first storyteller told me. She said that the jihad was basically the desire that every vampire has to kill another vampire whenever there's two or more congregated in one place.
No, that's
Alright.
different. No, the Jyhad are what the Methuselahs play. And it is a game for them too. It's when
Right.
you get to be 1,000 years old, you get bored. So what do? You play games. And
I'm just saying that that's what my first storyteller
okay.
told me.
So, but no, that's the basic definition of the Jyhad is a game that the Methuselahs play, or at least okay. We mentioned it during the clan novel show. Was about Victoria Ash using random dice rolls and numbers of sentences and things so that she could prove to herself that she wasn't being manipulated by an elder. Okay.
Right.
Hey, Mike, we got to do something, dude. Is there any way you can
Hey,
get
I'm
push
good
to
now.
talk?
I think I'm good now.
You are, but we're hearing everything in the background.
I shouldn't have anything in the background now.
Okay. Can swear I'm hearing. There we go. So, all right, Mike used to play Jyhad with me back in the day. Well, not just me. Some wonderful folks that I miss dearly. Some of
So
you.
we had a very big magic circle, and we all had magic fatigue after a great while. And those are the early days of the internet where Pete finally started to kind of break off from the group, and he'd be sitting over on his computer for hours while we were sitting at his house playing Magic. And this game came along, and it really shook things up. It added more of a role-playing element to it than Magic ever could. I mean, sure, you could pretend to be wizards casting spells at each other all day, but it's a lot more fun to be, a super, super old vampire manipulating a lot of younger ones on the board there. And it's all very visceral with the blood count and everything. It changed the dynamic of our group a lot.
I throw a Buick at you. Well, there were 3 Potence cards. Torn Signpost, Thrown Sewer Lid, and Thrown Car.
Yep.
Stepping up.
Rocket launcher, chainsaw,
So, all right, Kide, do you have a question for Mike now that he's back with us?
All right, Mike. More than what you know and what your experience has been, to you, what does the Jyhad represent?
It's just a super old word that means blood feud, and that's all there is to it. So it can mean one thing to one person, it can mean another thing to another. In the terms of this game, it simply meant the blood feud between these very old vampires. It didn't have any other connotation to it, and that was as simple as it was.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Until somebody decided to get all PC. It was bad. I was angry. I really was. No, I was flat out angry. Guys, I don't.
It changed your card backs were you couldn't use the same cards unless you had sleeves that covered the back.
Yep, because then people would know. But it was basically the same cards. It just had a different back. And even then, they really couldn't tell what the card was until they caught you using it. As soon as if they made note of the back of the card and then they saw you play it, then they would know that at least that would be the card that they should, you might want to be more, because I bought way more Jyhad cards than I did Vampire the Eternal Struggle, which means all the cool stuff I had Jyhad on the back of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was what, he was saying, there's either that or you got to sleeve them. And we've got a few folks in chat. I don't know who's here tonight so far, but say hi. And if you've got some questions, throw them at us. Happy to do it. So, Mike, what do you think about? And I hate to do this as another question, but how you feeling about them resurrecting it now that that Wife Wolf has been resurrected?
Ish.
Well, there are so many games out there that just plain flat out suck, and there's not a collectability element to it that's really fun. I mean, Magic's kind of tired. Star Wars Destiny was pretty awesome for a good while. I don't know if you ever fiddled around with that, but it was a dice and card game where you kind of had a couple of heroes that you would use. Those were kind of your defaults, and then you would either equip them or kind of send companions with them, and either the heroes or the companions or the equipment would have dice you roll to have an outcome. So as a collectible card game, that's kind of fun, but before long you're carrying around, it's 30 pounds of dice, and that becomes a little cumbersome. You'll be so when it comes to a card game that has more than just doing points of damage with a monster, you also have what Pete was talking about earlier, joking around with the you're hitting melee things or the game ender kind of things for your individual characters that don't carry any more than maybe 4 or 5 blood, for instance. It's a game of political intrigue as well. You can set things up to where you're bleeding your opponent for more. You're bleeding them by default without having to tap your vampires. Your deck building really isn't as necessary. It's not necessary to count cards and to make sure you have a certain number of this and that. It's more about how you want your game to go. And we were never really about killing each other directly because we wanted the political intrigue and we wanted 4 or 5 people to be playing against each other and with each other at the same time. So you'd form alliances, secret alliances, and as opposed to just launching your hardest hitting shit at at one person and killing them and just kind of that was definitely fun too. But
Mm-hmm.
it tends to piss people off and shut things off earlier just because you have better cards. So it, it's really a good game, and I think that it has the potential to really take off if they fund it right and they do the kind of preparatory stuff, with promo packs. But of course, nothing that's going to be inaccessible to anybody either, like that you have to win in a showdown event or something. It's something you go to for a release event where everybody can get like a couple of high power things without having to clamor or fight over them.
Exactly. And
Just to pique the interest, I think gets flagged to Avery.
go ahead. I sorry you broke up again.
So just a competitive edge without having to overbuy, if you get my drift. So I like the idea of the legacy packs that they're talking about releasing. So you'll get a lot of the content will be predictable in some of it, and then some of it will be random. That's what I'm gathering they're going to do.
I was told the Ivory Bow would be back. Sorry. Okay. Again, very sorry. I'm quitting. I've quit smoking, and now it's all this stuff coming up out of my lungs. Finally.
You should have done this a long time ago.
You damn Skippy, I should have. And to be perfectly honest, the I am I quit for one of the most selfish reasons I can imagine. It was impacting my ability to enjoy pot.
Huh?
That's not selfish.
No, I don't see how that's selfish.
Okay, maybe it isn't. But my point is, yeah, and that. This is one of those topics I was telling Mike about before you got on, Kid, was that is that we don't censor our language. We don't. There are no taboo subjects because even no and oh, I really don't want to use the word, but there are instances we got into a dialogue one night about how because there was a scene in what was it the V20 the new V20 of a rape, well sort of a rape thing going on vampire wise, and the the topic got on to well just embracing somebody is rape, feeding off of them is rape basically.
Kind of.
Well, they're not giving okay unless you're a blood doll. You're not giving it up on you're not really giving it up. Um,
Willingly.
Informed adult consent.
yeah. Oh, hey, our producer's with us. Hi, New Wave. Yeah, she's our producer. She's the one who she's our Twitter person. um, she's been with us almost since day one. She's been listening to us ramble on for 3 years now, Gus. Right at.
That takes patience.
Well, yeah, and she doesn't have no problem telling us when we fucked up either. And I don't have a problem with that. I want our fans to tell us when we fuck up. Basically. And I can trust her opinion. I know I can trust her opinion. Hence one of the reasons why she's our producer. Why I gave her access, So, anywho, with okay, we hinted about this in a conversation. I want to say last show. Was it Key Day that we were talking about doing the next show is the Jyhad show? And,
Yeah, we kind of brought it up.
yeah, and I said, there, Mike was part of that 18-hour game.
Damn.
Oh yeah, we were tripping balls. We were tripping balls, dude. We really were, and it was fun because we somebody would take their turn and then we'd spend the next hour talking. Remember, Mike?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, we caught him eating. So, those were the days, dude. That was the best gaming group I've ever been with. Even though I started out, my vampire days LARPing over at NC State, it was this was where my love was.
Well, the LARPing allowed us to take our group outside of that,
Mm-hmm. Because we
Right.
did tend to be a little hermetic at times. I guess hermetic would be the red. I don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you have a system. You have like the people that they already know each other. They know how their characters. Well, in certain cases, the characters or how their type of play is. So that they're kind of like that type of let's call it routine. It's not necessarily routine, but you know.
Mm.
And usually, adding someone else to that equation might throw things a little off.
Um, Mike, I don't know if I told you, Kevin lost all of his cards, all of
Oh
them.
yeah, yeah. I've been in touch with Kevin over the past several years.
Oh, okay, good. I was like, oh man, this brother had three of the five Mox gems.
He had at least 8 of the Power 9. There was he had pretty much every card there was that mattered up there. The time walks, the
Oh, the
the
infinite turn
green boxes you're
generator.
talking about, the dual lands. He had all the dual lands and that good, and the land tax, whatever it was, all the Power 9.
Oh, and but my favorite was always the glass box.
Yep,
I'm gonna sit in a little glass box and watch all of you die horribly.
I could. I could die at any second, but it's gonna be fun watching you die.
Mm-hmm. No, man, it was fun. And this is just, and that we're not talking. We kind of sidetracked over to Magic, but I had a feeling Magic was going to come up because it was one of the precursors to Jyhad, the first set of Jyhad cards.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't have that many types of card games back in the day. Nowadays, you find them dime a dozen.
Oh God,
But back
yeah.
then, it was Magic the Gathering, and then everything just started branching out.
I'm looking
I
forward.
currently have 7. I currently have 7 standard Magic decks right now.
Oh, you
Damn.
keep it. Yeah, I haven't had a standard Magic deck. They've been in the binders for over a decade. I don't have anybody to play with.
Well, I also play Arena, so
Yeah, I know. I'm going to catch you at some point, and we're going to go head to head. I've got a really nasty deck there too.
Man,
We're
I
talking
was
about
never really
Magic
good
the
at
Gathering
playing
Arena. It's
Magic.
the online version, and
Oh.
I'm hoping if White Wolf gets its shit together, or Onyx Path, or whoever is responsible for the car, the who's ever responsible for the card game will do us an online version so that we can play online. But the downside is going to be you're going to have to. Well, you can play 2 player, but it usually goes pretty quick.
Hmm.
Now, they did do something, Mike. I think I told you about recently. Prince's Gambit. That's Justin and Keeley. Uh, that was his little pet project. But the downside is you need 6 people minimum to play.
Damn.
This would have worked back in the day for us. It would have. I love it. I've just read the rules and I love it. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on.
And back in the day, well, not so back in the day, but they came up with like a fuck ton of expansions, like mini expansions and all that for the Jihad, right?
Mm-hmm.
they sure did. Yes.
They gave you. We get what I think. I think the Kaitif cards were one of the latest of the ones that they added to the um
Collection.
yeah, I guess collection would be the term to use.
It
Right.
looks like it was a pretty active game up until what 2008, 2009. It really took off after a while. It
It
took it
did.
somewhat to get momentum, but
But no, and the heyday was what, 96, 97?
as soon as it took off, sure, that was when you could find the local events, and then that stuff just stopped happening.
Well, yeah, because Chris was a dick.
He was more than that.
Man, I haven't heard anybody who knows him. Chris was the guy who owned Capital Comics, and he was the one who was able to look at an unopened pack and tell you what the rare was. That kind of shit pissed me off because what he would do is he'd pop the seal on a box, and he'd go through the packs, find the rarest cards, package them back up, put the box, put some of the other ones that he, had already perused to fill the box back up, and then resealed it, and then sold it. And
Damn,
that's fucking dick move. I don't give a shit who you are.
that's rigging the game.
It was a dick move, and he did it because part of, well, I'd say a good percentage of his income was from selling rare cards.
Hmm?
And there was a reason that people like me and Kevin and Bubba went up to Chapel Hill and bought our cards and stuff up there because the person who owned that shop wasn't trying to screw people. That's where I got my candelabra of Tanos. That was part of the infinite mana generator. Fun, fun, fun. So let's get back to Jyhad. Yeah, Jyhad.
Well, Jihad the card game or the Jihad Vampire
Well,
Jihad?
no, we could talk about both, but I'm the card game. I mean, I decided to pull out the anti-tribute cards. Those were some of the latest ones. The just before it went under.
Yes, yes.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's about half of my cards. I'm looking at the back of the sleeves, and about half of my cards are Vampire: The Eternal Struggle. The other ones are Jyhad,
Man.
and I liked them.
And I'm just sad because in my country where I lived, we didn't really get those, and when we did, they were stupid expensive.
Oh yeah,
So me being a poor Mexican boy, I couldn't afford it.
yeah. Wait a minute. Hold on here. Now that I know more about the lore of Vampire,
Hmm?
um, I just noticed in the Gangrel section, it reads as Angus the Unruled as the Gangrel Justicar.
What?
Yeah, that's what I said. It was Javier, so it was.
Well, it was that the Unruled was before
He may
Javier.
have been, yeah, he may have been the Justicar before Javier.
So that tells you how back it goes, how far back it
Hmm.
goes.
And of course, Stanislava is the IC for them. I never did get a full set of all of them. I tried, I really did, especially the Tremere. Duh.
I
Well,
don't even. I've only very recently started to go back through my stuff. If I've got, I don't know how many you're allowed to pack into decks. I think you used to be able to put two in your, two copies of an individual one in your stack of vampires.
Mhm.
Was it
yeah,
two or
no,
was it
no, it was
four?
one, just one. You could only have one of each,
You could
but
only have one in play, but
yeah,
when you're face down ones that you could pull from, you couldn't have those ready underneath, but I think you could have extra, in case that one died. Am I wrong? I don't remember how that whole
I
thing.
know.
Yeah, I guess.
As I remember, the rules was that you weren't allowed to. Um, you 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 only were allowed one of each individual. Now you could stack your deck with a whole bunch of high blood potency dudes, but it usually wound up getting your ass handed to you because you never wound up having enough blood to even cast two, much less more than that.
Yeah, it's hard to make up unless you could do the high capacity bleed stuff right off the bat with the laptop and whatever else.
Yeah, exactly. Um,
Vampires that bled for two. There was a couple that bled for two right out of the box.
yeah.
Those were.
Well, let's see. There's an anti tribute um, Toreador here that gets +1 bleed.
That guy.
That was Sheila Mezzarine. Um, Never really used many of the anti-tribute guys. It just wasn't my thing. I didn't have no problem collecting them because
Mhm.
I always figured that eventually I'd find somebody that I'd want to trade with that would try and now they're making decks specifically for Sabat, and they're making decks specifically for Camarilla, and they're
So it'll
using
probably be like anything else. So you'll have the you have the clan specific actions and the clan specific items, and then everything else will be kind of generic that you could use with anybody.
yeah. Well, you know about the major shakeups in the clans, right,
Mm.
Mike?
Vaguely. I'm a little out of the loop on the.
Okay, the Gangrel are no longer members of the Camarilla. The Assamites, or what are they called now? The Banu Hashim are part of the Camarilla now.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
So you've got independence, of course, the Giovanni. Um, oh, wait a minute.
The Ministry of Set.
The Ministry, yes, that's another one of them. The Ministry of Set. I just like it. It's just
Very
awesome.
much.
Um, so we've got some major shakeups going on, and so with the new cards, you're gonna have the Gangrel being independent, and
The
then
Bruja.
the not
Ha! I still say Bruja.
I
It's been
didn't
a
know. I
habit
do
which
too.
goes
I
way
said Bruja.
back.
Always
See,
have.
Bruja,
that's the thing.
Bruja.
I'm supposed to say it like that because I believe that's the correct way to say it.
It
But
is.
ever since I moved to the
Oh,
US, I keep saying it wrong.
no, no, it's Bruja, but it was always Bruja, even in the LARP days, way back in it was always that.
It was
It is,
always, and I
but,
cringed every time. I got. Remember, I had the
oh,
videotape versions of
I could
Vampire.
literally see your beard on the floor, your eyes rolled back into your head, and your teeth as you're Bruja, Bruja. I could literally see it with
Yeah,
my.
right. Just frothing at the mouth, man. I was just so not happening. I remember I had bought the VHS tapes of Kindred the Embraced, the show, and
Where they
every
say
time
Bruja.
dude said Bruja, I lost it. I did. I did. I lost it. And I said the only
It
reason
sounds funny.
I did. I know it is, and trust me on this one. This show, if you go back, every time. Well, okay, I still pronounce it Bruja, and I used to have epic arguments with my first co-host about the proper pronunciation of not just that, but Simiche. Yeah, yeah, and see, because we were wrong about that one, Mike. It wasn't Simisi, it was Simiche in Romanian.
Of course.
And I actually
Simici,
had to go to a
Simici.
Romanian speaker to get the correct pronunciation.
I'll have the prosciutto and the simici with the provolone, please.
Yes.
See, I used to be pretty lax on the pronunciation, being a storyteller myself when I was in Mexico, because it kind of gets lost in translation. We
um,
say bruja, but bruja in Spanish means witch, so we
A
used to
witch,
say
yes,
bruja.
exactly.
We always said bruja. Like my whole life, I called it bruja,
Bruja.
and then I just started mispronouncing it here in the U.S.
Oh, and yeah, as um, New Wave, some of them did come back to the Camarilla, but as a clan, they're independent.
Yes.
Um, and no, we're not getting on Kindred the Embraced. I just had to make that point about the pronunciation thing that irritated and still irritates the shit out of me. I own the DVD version of the uh, the
The
show,
show, yeah, I did
and
too.
still can't handle it. And they really, really did do a good job with it, relatively speaking. Now the only problem was what's his name? The Nosferatu wasn't nearly as ugly as he needed to be.
Yeah, I agree.
Fatalist.
I used to tell everybody that the that Nosferatu is like the best looking Nosferatu I've ever
He
seen.
was, man. He was one of the best looking dudes. You know, as far as
Handsome Boston.
yeah, and then dude's name. It was Patrick Bukow, who played Archon, whatever his last name was. But it
His
wasn't
name was
his
Arkham.
title; it was his name.
Yeah.
I had issues with that too. Well, dude, my first character was a fucking was a Tremere Archon. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah, and that's the other thing. There are three separate versions of the Tremere now, Mike.
That's
Oh
nice.
The
yeah.
entire council was killed off. Everybody, Atreus, everybody dead because they nuked. Well, didn't nuke. I think that was just missiled into oblivion. The mother
Can I?
house in Vienna.
You just reminded me of something. Can I sort of non sequitur in a Joel vampire story? It's very vampire.
Oh, go for it, man. Go for it. I
So
always
uh
love those.
so Joel and I, a group of a friend of our vampire group there that also played Magic in every other game with Pete. There's this guy named Joel that we like to blame for everything. Uh, we Joel and I played in a separate vampire game with another sort of ex-friend of Pete's named April. They should have stayed friends, but for some reason they didn't. But April's boyfriend at the time was a guy named Todd, and he ran a vampire game, and Joel and I played in it for years, and a bunch of other people from the music scene in Raleigh wound up playing in it. We had a really good time for several years. But the Joel thing was funny. He had this high powered Nosferatu, and he was such a dick. Like everything that he did was so underhanded. He was in everybody's pocket. He was working with every player to kind of achieve some angle. Uh, I was a Bruja named Darby. I was only 37 years old. I worked really hard up the political chain, and I had become pretty tight with some older folks, and I'd gotten a hold of some pretty like old and weird shit. So
You said
there
Bruja.
was
I know.
exactly.
I've
So
seen
there's
it
this
all
time
over.
where Joel was being exceptionally Joelish, where he kept
Uh,
getting using really threatening language with me. So he didn't know it, but I had this little set of beads that it could allow me to increase my size by 3 times.
oh damn.
So
See,
I increased my size by 3 times. I grabbed my hands around his body, right? And
Mm.
so there are dice rolls all over the place for this stuff. Okay, this is a very weird thing for the guy that was running the game to kind of have to incorporate this in, and we had to do some finagling to finally get the numbers to work right. There was no way he was squeezing out of my group there, and then he has the audacity to say, "What the fuck do you think you're doing?" So I bit his head off.
uh huh. That's awesome.
His
That
character
sounds
was
very
dead.
Bruja.
He was done with the game. It was all over at that point. He had to start a new character. There was no coming back. It was hilarious.
I just found I was going through the Simiche section. This was back when they used to use that that I don't want to say cursive. It was some sort of um, what is it called when you write
Uh,
calligraphy. Um,
oh.
yeah,
Oh, that.
it's a it's a calligraphy whatever version of the T, the letter T. Oh,
You've
and
got to
they
have some
drone
blisters
struck the
scripting on
Vienna
that one.
Chantry. That's from New Wave, by the way. And oh yeah, that's right. It was Archon Eldar. I was like, I just cringed. I was like, come on,
Okay.
y'all, read your subject matter, please, before you dick shit up. Seriously. And there are folks that even to this day still love that show, but
I love that show.
I wouldn't. I don't ever see them coming back with it.
Nope.
All right. But yeah, calligraphic um, T was the way they used the clan symbol in the up until just before the game went out, and then they switched up because just before the game went out, they were starting to uh, put out just what were the Sabbat packs by themselves. Not they didn't mix the Sabat cards up with the Camarilla cards. And the last one of the last of the cards that came out had the upside down Ankh, of course, and
Mhm.
they started using the Ouroboros, the dragon eating his own tail. Finally, because I guess somebody at White Wolf finally decided to give him an actual clan symbol because everybody else
Yeah,
had one.
now I remember.
And but yeah, um, Mike, that they're now Tremere, the clan Tremere has three different branches:
Yeah,
the House of Goratrix, the House of Tremere, and then House of Karna.
Karna.
Yeah, she was one of the elders of our clan who wasn't in Vienna when it happened, when they drone struck the Chantry.
I still have to read more about that because I have the V5, but I feel so repelled that I read a few pages and then I put it down for a month.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've still got a PDF copy with the Nazi stuff still in, and
Really?
yeah, because I got mine early.
Oh, well, I got the one that was already published by the time they started with all this crap. I'm not sure if it's undubbed.
It is. It's only 4 words
Yeah,
that they all went freaking berserk about, and I was like, "Come on, snowflakes, get your shit together." There's no reason for this. This is not. This is just because you're offended doesn't mean we all have to be.
exactly.
I did a whole show on that. I was so mad.
I was in it.
I was so fucking angry. I still am because it's not.
Yeah.
So who else do we have? Um.
What?
Sorry. All right. New Wave. Gotta give her some comedy props for this one. Archon. Greetings. I'm Archon Elder. I'm the city's Archon.
Oh no.
Can we put Archon in there one more time just for my benefit? But I'm wondering who else we've got in the channel. I mean, the only person talking is New Wave. I'd like to know who else is here, so that we can give you a shout out and say hi. You know,
Right.
we don't require you to ask questions, but if you have some questions, please you know, just jump right in there. We don't. There's no such thing as stupid questions. There's stupid people. And I'm not talking about your SDL in the channel are stupid or anything. I'm just that was something I was brought up on. It was not. It was even even a dumb what sounds like a dumb question to somebody who knows all of the ins and outs of the what is it the
Hmm.
lore, but they don't know, which means they ask the question, and then I'm more than happy, or whoever else who's guesting and or co-hosting is more
Hi.
than welcome to actually answer the question for them, because like I said, there are no stupid questions really. I'm always happy to try and answer something for somebody.
Well, I think the only type of the only question that might be stupid is the one that stays unasked.
That's a good one. Ooh, wait a minute. Who we got here? Jennifer. Somebody just sent me a friend request. He's got the right pedigree. He has the right mutual friends. So I'm gonna go ahead and just confirm it. Everybody.
The right pedigree.
Well, no. If you send me a friend request and I don't see at least 4 friends in common, I'm not sure about you, and I'll be very careful with you at least until you've shown that you're not a douche and just trying to do the whole stop that shit. It's contagious. Um, oh yeah, Cyberpunk. I was telling Mike about Matt Webb. and about the whole.
Mess.
Oh shoot, we're gonna lose our guest. He's got to go.
Oh crap.
Dude, I'm sorry. We were gonna. I guess we'll just bullshit for a little while longer. That we'll just make this a short um show tonight. I wasn't sure we were gonna be able to fill 2 hours of Jyhad stuff without
Right.
four people, but
I tried.
yeah, I know that's hey, it's no big deal. Yeah, Mike, go, man. You got to go be domestic. Go be domestic. Hi. Well, it's he's got two kids. One recent addition, little lady. She is cute as a button. Um,
Oh.
she is. She's adorable. She really is. He makes good babies. So does Maria. I
I
believe.
think my two kids are in their cages, so we could.
Yeah. No. Oddly enough, Maria Tillett, the guy the 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 woman he married is Joel's sister.
What?
Yes, he married Joel's sister. The Joel we were just talking about.
Damn.
Yeah. And Joel has disappeared. Off the last we heard of Joel is he was going to join some sort of religious group thing out in the woods.
Cult.
I didn't want to say cult because it may not be. It just may be they have a different way of worshiping. Is all. They're not trying. It's not like they're waiting for the end of the world or anything like that. It's more
Or rooting
more
for
of a
it.
kibitz thing, a situation, than a Jonestown thing. You know.
Oh.
It's just being out in the woods and living off the land and that kind of thing, which means no cell phones, no hell, it doesn't even sound like he's been in contact with even his parents in all over 20 years now. It seems like he disappeared not long after I left Raleigh, so I didn't that Joel. I miss Joel. I do. He was a fun dude to be around, even. Oh, okay. That's what's going on here. They're having bandwidth issues at the Yocum household, so
Mm.
we're gonna let him bow out, and we're gonna just keep our thing, our deal. By the way, just since this is what we do at the end of all the shows. Um, yeah, right. New Wave. It's like that don't sound weird, but okay.
But it sounds weird.
Yeah, but it sounds weird, It's, I was like, okay, that was when I first heard about it. I was like, are we gonna actually have to kidnap this motherfucker later on and deprogram his ass, or what's going on? And I'm driving for that run. I got no problem helping that because I'll drive. I love road trips, man. I love them. You put me behind the wheel and I'll drive 3 states before I want to take a nap.
See, I used to like driving until I had to start driving for work.
Yeah, that's not the same thing. Driving for pleasure is way more fun.
I should try it sometime.
Yeah, you ought to. Just go with a day trip somewhere. I don't know exactly where you live, but anyway, we were as I was gonna say, gonna say is that I know New Wave has seen it. I know probably just statistically, at least one other person in the channel has seen it. Have you seen What We Do in the Shadows?
I have not. I actually was looking for it on where was it, Netflix, and I
They
was
don't
looking
have
at it
it there
on
yet.
Amazon Prime. So I don't know where to watch it, but I really would like to.
You need to. It is one of the funniest damn things. It's the same guys who did Flight of the Concords, and
Oh damn!
let's see, what was the other one that they did? Um, and Taika Waititi, one of the members, he's the one who directed the Thor Ragnarok, and is going to be doing the new Thor with the woman who is going to become Thor.
Mm.
Um, so Anywho, uh, so you need to watch this movie. You really, really do.
Yeah,
And
because I
I'll put.
remember one of my friends from my most recent group, someone actually, told me that when I started running a game, it started like we were like Lost Boys type of vampire, and we ended up as what we do in the shadows. And I understood half of that reference, and then the other half I didn't understand.
You cut out.
Crap.
That's good.
Uh,
You understood half of that reference.
oh yeah, and I didn't understand the second one, so that's why I wanted to watch that movie.
And now it's not just the movie you got to watch. FXX is now doing an American version of the show. It's three different vampires, four different vampires. New, from because the ones that from What We Do in the Shadows are in Wellington, New Zealand, and the new show is based in Staten Island, of all places. And but it's basically the same formula, and it's so funny. It is so funny. The Baron, one of the elders decides to come check up on him to find out why they haven't taken over Staten Island yet, because that was the mission he sent him on, was to come to America and take over. And he got there and was like, okay, why don't where are all the virgins? Why are we not? Because apparently vampires love virgin blood. I don't know what that was about. I thought that was just a Ventru thing, but okay. And so they they take the Baron out partying, and they wind up at a nightclub where everybody's tripping and rolling and smoking and drinking and all the the above mentioned, what do you call them, uh, what is they're not banned substances, but what do they call them, scheduled substances. And so they're drinking from all these people super high and getting stoned. And apparently and I checked it in the rules, it works.
It
It
does, yeah.
does. It works under the rules of Vampire the
Oh,
Masquerade. So,
yeah.
but there's also crazy other ways to get your weird on with, like drinking werewolf blood or drinking changeling blood, or
Bruh.
apparently hunter blood's not very good. That's all I know. Um,
Really? I never really tried. Then again, I played Hunter one time, and it was so unbalanced at the time that it pissed me off, and I never really touched it again.
oh, New Wave, yes, I have. I have 12 hours worth of music on my MP3 player, and I would just love to just
Damn.
plug it in and go, and then keep a backup set. Oh, okay. Virgin blood is a specialty, creme de la creme for special occasions. Not that I would know anything about that. But anyway, I love her. She's so much fun. I love having her. And I still wondering why everybody's lurking in the channel, but they're not
Right?
saying anything. I guess people are trying to catch up, making sure we don't say anything controversial. Well, no, we went to YouTube jail, man, over me and Eric doing something stupid.
Yeah, it was fucking horrible because I was looking forward to be part of more, and then
I
they put us
know.
on YouTube jail because some fucking unknown channel reported us for some bullshit,
Wasn't
and
it?
the channel disappeared.
Yeah, no, that's what happened. Is they reported us for a copyright infringement, and then when I went to contest it,
Mm.
the contesting went to YouTube, but when it tried to send it to the person to whom lodged the original complaint, it said account does not exist.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that don't sound sketchy at all.
You know it was a fucking troll or
No,
someone with a
I know
vendetta.
exactly who the fuck it was. It was one of those mind's eye dickheads because they were still pissed about what I had said about their group. Well, at least the Austin chapter. I'm not. I even when I was ranting, I never wanted to blame the entire Mind's Eye Society. You know, the different groups. Now the board, you're damn right, because it's not. It's like, hey, New Wave. I watched Queen of the Dam yesterday.
Never fall. Nice.
And that's the worst of the vampire movies that I own, I think. Yeah, I do believe so. I think that is absolutely the worst one I own. And I own a lot of vampire movies. And I own
I
some
mean, it
B
wasn't
movies.
that bad. It's just that the actor that played Les Todd just didn't quite cut it.
Well, yeah, and they turned fucking what was his name? The guy the Armand into a
Armand.
blonde-haired kid as
Wait, wasn't
opposed
it? It was Armand?
that was Armand.
Fuck me. I'm gonna have to watch it
Okay,
again just to remember how
the
terrible the plot
gangrel
was then.
looking dude, the one where she says "Find Jesse" at the concert. That was Mel.
Oh!
That was the one who was turned by. He was one of the original turns, just like Maharet. They were second generation from Akasha. So yeah, and then let's see, the girl who played what's her Claudia Black. Shit. Oh fucking. Who was that? It's just you go back and look at the credits at IMDb, and then go and pull up the White Wolf, or not the White Wolf, but the Anne Rice wiki,
Mhm.
and you find out who these vampires are, because you only get to see them like once, at the end of the movie, really.
Right. I'm gonna have to rewatch it because I don't remember any of this, and it's been, well, yeah, it's actually been a while since I watched it.
Oh wait, hold on. Oh, a friend of hers are going to be doing vampire movie night for Halloween, but only the good ones. The bad ones and the shitty ones too. Yes, do that. And I've told you, New Wave, about what was it called? Not Nightbreed, The Breed, the one with oh shit.
What?
Yeah, it's a vampire movie where vampires have come out of the closet. They are, of course, still
Like
a
the literal
minority,
closet or the proverbial
the
closet?
proverbial closet.
Shit.
Instead of being, bound by the masquerade, these guys came out of the closet and said, until the humans that actually started getting all pissy about it, because there were a number of high profile murders that were committed by a
That sounds like True Blood to me.
no, it isn't, it's not. Adrian Paul, Bokeem Woodbine, um let's see what else, it's I forget, Bai Ling. That's she plays Lucy Westenra, and she's, oh yeah, that was that's a Dracula reference, right? You know
Yes.
that. So, and then you've got all these other folks that most folks have never seen or heard from since, but it's not a bad movie. It is B as fuck, but it was very much.
Mm.
Have you ever seen a movie called Brazil?
I might have, but
It's
I
one of
can't
the
quite recall.
um it's one of the dude that was in Monty Python. It's one of his movies, and it's about the breed turns out to be kind of like a vampire movie set in the world of Brazil. It's weird. It is just that weird.
Mm.
And the Lucy Westenra actually has a Gould tiger.
A gold tiger.
Uh huh. Uh huh. The,
Ah.
the Nosferatu do it, but they usually use rats and sewer gators and
Alligators.
shit like that. Yeah.
Oh,
But no, she has a. It's a Terry Gilliam movie. Thank you. Yeah, it was kind of like a World War II thing. Um, it was, but it wasn't. Because they actually had computers, but it was like everything. She's right. The whole ambiance was like, okay, this is an apocryphal whole sit up. The human society is very totalitarian. With the only thing they're not doing is doing the Sieg Heil thing, and then all the vampires are running for their bloody lives because the
bloody lives.
yeah, no, I'm dead serious. They find out that they're creating a virus that will kill every vampire on the planet.
Damn.
Yeah, and so of course it's yeah, and that, but I think it came out before the Matrix did. New Wave. I do believe that it did. Um, but it is. It's one of those B movies that I love that I own it. I really do. And Adrian Paul, that brother, he is not opposed to playing a vampire before. And of course, he's also in fucking Highlander Endgame, and he's actually, holy crap, he's got one announced, one filming, three in post production, and two completed. And this is just
Bruh.
this last year. Wow, this brother's going to be in a lot of stuff.
Hmm.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm
Well,
glad to
since
see.
we're talking about vampire movies, do you know what's one of the ones that I actually liked, but it's mostly frowned upon, even though it's a vampire movie?
Which one?
And of course, the name abandoned me. Oh, Daybreakers.
I love
Daybreakers?
Daybreakers.
Is that the fucking name?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the one with what's his name? The dude.
Ethan Hawke.
No, no, he played the gremlin or the goblin in the first or second of the Spider-Man movies. Um,
Willem Dafoe.
Willem Dafoe. That if anybody can play a vampire, that brother can.
Pff, he can play anything creepy, man.
Yeah, I know. He's it's just that one of those things. I don't know. It's got to be his face. It's just got to be his face. Well, anyway,
Yeah.
we've had a lot of fun tonight. I got to talk to somebody I haven't spoken to and outside the chat in a
Right.
very long. You didn't like Daybreakers? Why?
Why? It's a great movie. See, that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's
Okay, I don't
normally
like
frowned
the.
upon as a vampire movie.
Yeah, but I don't like the way they healed or how they reversed the
Yeah,
vampirism.
that was kind of a
That was a little.
stretch.
That was a little. Sketchy. I'm gonna think of a lot of other things you could have done. But one of my favorite. Um, I don't technically. It is a vampire movie, but it falls under the auspices of what I call a hunter movie, like John Carpenter's Vampires. That's a hunter movie. There happen to be
Mm,
vampires in it, but it's about the hunters. And
kind of like Dust Till Dawn, but like on crack.
the one I'm talking about though is Priest,
Oh, I heard
the
about that one.
post-apocalyptic where everybody's living in one. It's kind of like fucking Judge Dredd kind of
Uh,
thing going on, except with vampires.
I have got
And
to watch that one too.
that one's yeah, and it's what's his name? Um, the guy who played the new Judge Dredd. He also played Bones in the remake of Star Trek. I'm having a hard time with my memory lately. I don't know what's going on, but I've got an appointment with my doctor later this week to see what there might be some more if there's any organic or something.
Reason.
Yeah, come and go. But Carl Urban as Carl Urban. That's it.
Coleman.
Everything he's in, he's Carl Urban as Carl Urban.
Kind of like what's his name? Like Keanu Reeves usually plays Keanu
Mm-hmm.
Reeves.
Oh, I'm so looking forward to the new Bill and Ted. Oh, that's gonna be so much fun.
Dude, that's yeah.
It is gonna be
I'm
so much
so looking
fun.
forward to it.
And and we're trying to figure out what a what upgrade are we gonna get to the phone booth this time, and
Mm.
B, are they gonna use a hologram of Rufus or because I know that we already know that the movie's being dedicated to him.
Yes,
It had to be. I mean,
which
come on.
kind of makes me tear up a bit every time I think about it.
I do
Thank you very
too.
much.
Sorry. Got to roll with the good and the bad. So, all right, guys, we're gonna call it for the night, and this is one of our okay, left her feeling unsatisfied. That's a problem.
It is indeed.
That is really
Let me just bring one last thing
okay.
regarding the
That's your
topic for tonight that I was thinking about. When pertaining to what I said first when you asked me about jihad, I think there is a misconception of jihad in itself. Like some people think it's that curse that Cain received, that his offspring would always be at war with each other. But it's what you said. It's the elders' game that they used to keep all the neonates, the I'm sorry, the ancillary and all those younger ones under control, killing each other while they are just pulling the strings.
mm-hmm. And they're the ones in the background going, "Ha ha! Look what I did." And usually, part of the jihad is using your resources to try, and this is a basic rundown of the card game, is you use your resources in vampires that you're controlling to undermine the other Methuselahs. You're
Exactly.
not just keeping the neonates and the ancile and those guys in line. It does that too, but mostly it's because they're bored. And number two, it's like, well, I don't like this dick. I have not liked this dick for 1,000 years, and I'm gonna go out of my way to fuck him over every chance I get.
Yep.
Basically, that's how that works out. So, anything else, Kide? You and
I
I,
think that would be it.
you and I are gonna chat after the show. I just want to make if we're gonna have to make some changes to our timing, whether it
Right.
be later. Now, like I mentioned earlier, is most of our folks are night owls anyway. So just as a heads up, uh, new wave question: if we were to push the show back an hour, do you think we'd still get the same numbers, or are we going to probably push the working folks to bed and then they'll just listen to the show later? What do you think? What do you think, Kita? You think that's going to be working out, or I mean, if we
Uh,
not for you, for us as a show, I want to think if we push the time back an hour, for me it's not that big a deal. It's like pushing it. It's from 8 to 9, and then I
right.
have to stay up till 11. But that's okay.
Well, I think half an hour would be more than enough. But then again, I'm like I mentioned before, I'm trying to get a little adjustment on my work schedule to try and fit this because this is important to me.
Yes, I get that, and I appreciate that you're looking at it. Uh, okay, so I could go into way more detail about my feeling towards it, but we'd be here all damn night. Okay, well, shoot me a message or something. Give it. I want your opinion. You're part of this group. You're part of the team, and I'd like to get everybody's opinion on this, even for the folks that are listening live right now, and maybe less so for the folks that may listen to it later. Is that if we were to push the show back a half an hour or an hour, would you still be able to listen or watch or listen live? That's all. That's all I was thinking about. So, all right. So we're out for the night, guys. Everybody say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.